Alright, muri yeZimbabwe kusangana kwatiri kuita zvakare ipo pano paZemunews update apo patinoda kupa first hand update anonga ari kuitika munyika yedu yeZimbabwe. So kana uri mutsva usabve pano usina kusubscribe, kulike nekushare. Panapa ndiri kuya ndakatibatanidzei maupdates akati wandei. Tine maupdate tichange tichibata akasiyana-siyana, uye ndichazokusiyai debate rawamaponga, sezvo zvatiri kuziva kuti wamaponga vakuchibvunzwa nevanhu kutoti imimi zvemuri kuita izvi mune maambitions api. Vachazvipindura vega tichavanzwa pano muri yeZimbabwe, sezvo zvetiri kuona kuti varida kutena sort of like republic kuendesa kumonarchy, sort of like kuendesa kukingdom, sort of like kuti muitwe zveumambo munomu. Ndo zvavari kuda, because tiri kuona kuti ndo vakutotanga kutopusha cab force. Sezvo tiri kuona kuti ana Masimirembwa vanga vatotanga kutoipusha, but iwo ndo vatori serious every day. Vari kutwitter nekuposta nekuita semafacebook endows, masocial medias akasiyana-siyana. So muri yeZimbabwe nawo yetinayo yakamira yakadai. So nawo yetinayo ndeya president Emerson Mnangagwa, according kunana comrade Soko vanoshandira vari military intelligence, vari kuti president Emerson Mnangagwa avamo muno munyika yeZimbabwe. Ndosaka muri kuona rwendo rwekutanga achienda kubulawayo rwakanzelwa. Rwendo rwekuenda kubulawayo rwakanzewa. Apo patiri kuona kubulawayo kwacho ndokwakuine vanhu vanga vari kutoratidzira zvakasimba chaizvo. Chinova chiricho chiratidzo chinoratidza kuti zvinazvomera zvakanaka. So tiri kuona ma-ex combatants kusanganisa ma-retired generals, ma-war veteran vari kutaura kuti kana moto watobatidzwa ngautorambe uchitodini, ngautorambe uchitobaka, because tiri kuona kuti idemo although zvayo vanhu vasina kupinda mustreet zvakanyasa kukwana, but tiri kuona kuti ZANU-PF yanga ine kuvhunduka kukuru. Tiri kuona madande mutande akasiyana-siyana vachidaidza ma sort of like army, vachidaidza sort of like that police, ma-guard juries vachiita zvinhu zvakasiyana-siyana kuda kushishidzira vanhu muri yeZimbabwe. So tiri kuonawo sort of like wanyatsimba mutota muri yeZimbabwe, comrade war veteran, kune ma veteran vaya vakaenda naLove Momadhuku vachichallenge president Emerson Mnangagwa kuConcourt. One vacho vanonzi wanyatsimba mutota. Tiri kuona kuti vari kutsvagwa nemapurisa, because haisi mapurisa but vanhu ivo vari kunzi vasvika pamba pavo kwamutare vasine mota dzisina manumber plate dzine matinde, hanzi vavatsvaga kairi. Ivo vanga vari mutauni vari kuenda kunoorganiza nevanhu vanga vada kuprotesta kuti vange vachizvifambisa sei. Wanyatsimba mutota vakambosungwa muri yeZimbabwe. Ndo vamwe varwi wehondo yerusununguko vari kupusha kuti president Emerson Mnangagwa dai vanga vambomira zvavari kuita izvozvo muri yeZimbabwe. Sezvo tiri kuona kuti mamwe ma-war veteran havachafari. Vanyatsimba mutota kune vasikavazive, tisati tapinda muno vanyatsimba mutota muri yeZimbabwe, kunzi madhemo akabudirira akaita sei, anoita president wacho ndiani? Because tiri kuona kuti vanhu vari kunza kutungamirira madhemo kana toda kuzoita mutsicheka dzafa, sort of like havabatikiri kumadhemo vanhu iwawa, sort of like ana Tendai Biti, sort of like ana Jacob Ngarivume, sort of like ana Gwisai, vanongowanika mavideos chete, media, social media chete, paground havavanike. So tiri kuona kuti toti vanhu vakurira kana kuti vanhu vatrai kubatana wobvisa bato reZANU-PF, anotungamirira nyika ndiani muri yeZimbabwe? Ndo pane mubvunzo wangu ipapo kuti anotungamirira nyika ndiani. Kune vanhu vanongada kungotrai kuda kungoshandisa vanhu. So tiri kuona sort of like zvakaitwa nyoka yemabhunu zvezvezve. Nyoka yemabhunu tiri kuziva kuti mukadzi cheche akasvika pakutodzokera kumba kwawo. Hani mazviona zvakatoparara zvinhu kumukadzi cheche. Tiri kuona kwaitwa magofandi, ana Gambakwe, ana General Store, ana Chiwa vakutanga kushaudhana, vari kudya mari vachiita seti magofandi tuchiitwa pachiita hapana kana chakabuda muri yeZimbabwe. Kuchitonzi mukadzi wanyoka yemabhunu chaichi ari kutoshayiwa mari, ikoko kaitwa gofandi yakatojikwa navamwe vanhu. Chinova chiricho chiratidzo chinoratidza kuti kuopposition kwacho kutori no corruption futi. Ndo mviro dzecorruption idzo dzekutoti nyange pakatumiwa 10,000 iwo wodya mari iyoyoyo ozoendesa kana kuti 500 kuna. Saka zvakasiyana neko nemunhu ari muZANU-PF. Inoye kutoti muZANU-PF vanonga vangoita zvakaraudzira, because vagara varongoti vangogara vangori pamusoro. Ngatinzwe makomrade vachitaura.
And coming into Zimbabwe, you also realize that the opposition movement, when he mentioned them, they are the supposed valve for balance, but the disillusionment comes from the fact that now we have no solution from them as well, because they are co-opted into the solid mass and the expectations of many people. Then they become disillusionment. So if you read one of my articles when I responded to this, is that the fact that MDC entered a GNU was not necessarily a problem to so many people, Nobody accused them of collaborating with ZANU or developing the economy and taking positions. It was okay. But the moment they are out of that position, then there is this Kudira gesture that comes in, and there is no project that they want to participate in, and everybody should fight anyone who tries to do anything that builds the country. So once they had positions, many people felt that also even the opposition stopped fighting ZANU PF, and they even wanted to extend their terms during before this CAP 3. They also started to say, well, let's extend our terms. Nobody said anything. So now we have a different opposition group that is in office, but we see a similar pattern. They help remove Mugabe through an attempted impeachment process, and later they also faced their own internal challenges, including the recalling of MPs through Shabangu. And from the perspective of opposition politics, one cannot easily be trusted. So if you look at his thought process, why is he thinking this way? It's because he sees people are always fighting for power or fighting for their own corner. And I think that's what led him to thinking, what can cause us to be peaceful and really develop the country? And so if you look at the monarchy that we've had Mugabe, as a president for 37 years, and you call that democracy. He was elected. And if I give you an example, Xerxes, who was the most greatest powerful empire in Persia, he ruled for only 21 years. And yet Mugabe outlasted even Julius Caesar, who was a declared emperor for only 5 years. And you can think of Alexander the Great, 13 years, and he died at 32, and yet he was the greatest eh, emperor that you ever came across. Then, of course, you have Morgan Tsvangirai. He led MDC from 1999 until he died in 2018. Nearly 21 years or nearly 20 years as an opposition leader. Every election cycle, and every defeat and every stolen result, it was the same man, same face. So the same position. Nobody challenged him seriously from within. So nobody said, it is time for a new leadership. It is time for people to demand something different, a different structure. So there was what I call the democratic opposition, which had a democratic opposition monarchy. You could refuse, but that's the fact. So what we're envisaging is a thinking capacity to think and say, what are we looking at here, regardless of political party? Because remember, these guys are getting older, and here we are, all of us here, we still have blood running in our veins. And
Map,
then
I'll give you 1 minute to land. Just 1 minute to land.
I haven't even gotten into my into my presentation. I'm just giving the warm up. I think I've only spoke for 2 minutes.
Yeah, you know
But
that you got a limited time. We don't want the
all
presentation. I
right,
want you
okay,
to
fine.
ask the questions. Go straight to the question. What we
All
bring
right.
opposition, what is not even helping.
No, I mean it is the philosophy behind why we are here. It is very, very important to understand why are we thinking about a monarchy, and why is he thinking about a monarchy, and are we going to debate it diligently? And if we are having a debate that is diligent, we need to look at our current structure, and then we say, so what is then the solution? What are we supposed to come up with it? Because how do we then propagate? So I read his paper. So let me just go to what I understood from his paper. He made a diagnosis of what he called the republic is what he called a colonial machine, where that Africa, the republic is not African. It was never African. It has never been African. It was built out of the Berlin Conference. Then he went into why reforms are failing, because the reforms have failed because uh, we assume that the republic can be fixed by the election box, which was designed as a suggestion box for the powerless, and real power sits within the military and the judiciary and the central bank, and all the republican institutions have inherited are inherited from this colonial master. And so then he went to the opposition party that they begged for a seat in the same car to drive, but as soon as they are in there, but whose car they're driving? So then he went to the anatomy of the replacement machine. He talks about abolishing the presidency, abolishing or reorganizing the national army, reorganizing and the parliament where most MPs are elected by the party, not elected by the people, because even a party can write a letter and just remove the people. And so the debate, when are written in English legal code, Roman Dutch code, a foreign system. So he wants to abolish that, and then he restores a dare where people sit around, which my sister Marcy spoke about it, that there was some democrats in Africa. People sat around and decided, they casted lots to actually vote. So it's not like there was no democracy. So she's right on that. And that's exactly what he is trying to. So I'm trying to crystallize what he says so that people just don't get emotional and understand what he wrote about. And then he talk about the central bank, the engine of inflation and elite enrichment. It prints money, it funds violence, it enrich the connected few. And he wants to abolish that and allow a clan-based cooperative system backed by grain, gold, cattle, and even our own sort of, gold. Of course, that's money, right? And then he talks about the state land, which is the greatest theft in our history. You see people being displaced and Chinese coming into our country, taking land, and everybody just being displaced. So, how do you then ask your question, who does the land belong to? So, I want us to focus on his argument, on what Professor Mapunga is talking about here. The great philosopher that you are not paying attention to. He is not saying, hey, put Cape 3 and put Mnangagwa. He didn't say that. He said, let's think on our future. Do we need to stick to the democratic principles that are forced on us, that allow China to come in, and that allow just a few select people to get in, and when they write in, even the opposition that is supposed to have been fighting the other way are not? That's why he wants to debate them, because he wants to accuse them of not doing anything, which is what I've been doing all along here, and nobody has complained. So he talks about the judiciary as well. That everybody's being treated as a second class. You go there to court, you don't get a decision. So he then has what is called the Changambire prescription, the 7 acts of abolition, where he dissolves the presidency, he disbands the national army, abolish parliament and restore dowry, abolish the central bank and decentralized currency, abolish the state land and restore the clan custodianship. And all then X6, he abolished the Roman Dutch law and restored indigenous customary law. And then he abolished the colonial calendar and restored the sacred time. Now, this is a lot of people watching get madare kunoshikirwa and so much. Some of us go to church, whatever the case is. These are all dichotomies that we must align ourselves and think hard on how to align, because now if we have a white wedding versus kunororwa nemombe, do we respect both of those things? Are we still respecting both those aspects?
Hey, Divine, can you prepare the land, please?
And you are not a co-host, are you? If you are a co-host, I will
I
land.
am.
I'm about to. Just one more minute.
I
Okay,
am.
so then he talks about modern medicine, technology, education, and what is realistic and what is unrealistic. So he's asking for a conversation, a debate on, actually, I'm summing up now, on actually for us to understand, if we have Chamisa now going in for 20 years as an opposition leader, are we ever going to have a different government? Or are we then need to concede that the system we are on is cheating us? And it allows Mugabe to stay for 37 years. It allows maybe Mnangagwa to come in for another 30. And maybe Chiwenga another 30, and and the opposition stays as opposition. Or something else needs to give so that everybody has a stake on the table,
Thank you,
whether you like
Divine.
it or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Div. Thank you. Uh, okay. Marcy, you can come in.
Thanks, Cree. Sorry, did I
No,
come before someone?
yeah, you,
Can't be massive.
All
Can't
right,
be massive.
I'll
no,
wait.
she has to come after Zim for you.
Yeah,
No,
can you bring
she
your
has to
co-host
come
so
after
people can
Nyika and
bring him in?
Mgrini and Gono and senior citizen,
Can you greet him? He just came in now.
right?
So we need to know what is
No,
going on.
Sounds good.
So let me just give you the lineup. So it's Zim, Then you give Omaponga to respond on that. Then you go to another two speakers, I think Mgini and Munyika. Then you give them, give Amaponga to respond on that. Then it's your co-hosts, maybe after two speakers, jump in any time. Then you go to Gona and the senior. Then you bring Mercy in. Because there's these people, they even spoke, Grini hasn't spoke, Nika hasn't spoke, Gona hasn't spoke, senior. All of them, this is now 1 hour, 30 minutes, they haven't speak anything.
But they were
And
not
our sister
there,
Mercy,
Scotty.
I
They've
was here.
they've just been
They were
added.
here. I was the one who ate them. Anodio. We don't have to debate on that, Anodio. Just follow what I'm saying. Right.
Thank you, Scotty. I'll do that. Zim, you can go ahead, and then Wamaponga can respond.
Thank you, thank you. I'm not going to take too long because I was just following and I'm still at work, so I'm just going to go back to the office after this. Yeah, I think Maponga tried to explain. He tried to explain his kind of monarchy that he wants, that he's proposing. Um, it is different from what we know, or from what I know, when it comes to monarchy. He's talking of, you know, rotational system where you you move it from one chain to another. I don't know if that kind of a thing, will work in a country like Zimbabwe. So this is a debate, Joshua. Um, so for me, what I know about monarchy is like a single family, ruling. And thank you, Masi, earlier on for explaining the British monarchy and the system that is operating in the United Kingdom. I wanted to touch that, so I'm not going to touch that because um, Mercy explained it properly. So we can't use United Kingdom as an example in this case. So for me, Maponga, when I look at Zimbabwe, as you say, the country is made up of many ethnic groups. I think you guys spoke about that. Political tradition or regional identities. We're just different. We're different people. So, based on the definition of a monarchy, I think a single family or a dynasty, whatever you may want to call it, struggle to command enduring legitimacy across such a diverse population without a democratic consent. We want that consent from the people that are living in Zimbabwe. And that country is a diverse society. And I don't think it's going to work according to the definition of a monarchy. And then when it comes to the succession, we know the history shows us that while some hereditary rulers have governed effectively, some have governed effectively, but others have not. And so, what I know personally is that leadership ability is not inherited. So this monarchy thing, or what you want to call it, or dynasty, I don't think it offers assurance that future leaders will possess the skills or integrity required to govern. And we see it in Zimbabwe. You know, there is no accountability or whatsoever. And I believe this thing that we're trying to introduce, or what Maponga is proposing, it will weaken accountability even further. You know, so I believe in democratic systems because citizens can replace leaders, through elections or whatever. But in this monarchy system, if you want to try to change an effective leadership, it will be more difficult. It is even more difficult now because you are not following the constitution. So it will reduce the incentives of accountability and responsiveness to public concerns. They don't care. And we know that ED does not care. And I don't know why Maponga, this proposal, this supposedly nice proposal, decided to call it Camp 4. maybe you should have given it a different name or whatsoever. But you are following Cap 3. And I remember you're also supporting Cap 3. And now you're calling it Cap 4. And before you came to Zimbabwe, Maponga, this is a personal question. You wanted to form your own organization or political party to challenge the system. I don't know. When you came in, everything changed. I don't know what changed. So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that beautiful people. That didn't take even 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Zim. Thank you, Zim, for us foundation. Appreciate the contribution. Amaponga, if you would like to respond.
Oh, beautiful. I have nothing to respond. I mean, honestly, I feel offended because the issues that he is raising are already on the paper that I submitted. How the system will work, how the rotation will work, how the consultative democracy would work within each one of those houses that I outlined. So please, let's be fair to each other. I know you have sentiments that you want to say at the end, but the rest of your argument, I don't think it was based on an informed person who had read the paper. But having said what you have said about my political party, yes, nothing is, don't have a secret. I started an organization called ZIM, Zimbabwe Indigenous Movement. And at my coming over into Zimbabwe, I discovered maybe what I was shouting that the government must do. I already found them doing some of the things. And neither did I have the resources to get that dream done. So I decided to shift my focus and my effort towards assisting those that are doing things right, whether they are of a ruling party or of an opposition party. Lending a few friends around who also assisted me in terms of my consulting on media coverages and other community-based projects. That's how I've been able to make my money and living to date. So I decided to put that organization on foot and rather do the practical indigenous knowledge harvesting, which included my visits into places and sacred spaces, learning more about my culture, my history, and all those things. So this has been more of a movement for me. It's my own lesson. It's my own classroom where I'm listening, recording, putting what I think, what I hear onto a piece of paper and subject for debate. And people can see what is useful in what I'm saying and what is not useful. If you say democracy will work permanently, we're already here 45 years later. So let's put 14 for ED, let's put 14 for Chiangwa, let's put another 14 for a few generals, because the presidents will have been set in the constitution that 2 terms, and if 2 terms is 7 years. Surely when Mnangagwa steps down, Chiwenga will use the same constitution to drive for 14 years. Another army general comes, another army general comes. That's what I defined, Masi, if you're listening carefully. I called it militant democracy, which means at the bottom of your power, it is the army. But the army then removes uniform to run what you might call the government itself. So I didn't say it's a military state, military democracy. So, and I'm looking at this pattern repeating itself for the next 50 years in Zimbabwe. And as a maybe people don't call me a thinker, but I give myself credit. As a thinker, I step aside and I said, what can we do in the now which can interrupt this program for the next 60 years? Is it possible that one day a Nambia will be a president of this country? Looking at demographics, that Mazezuru are X, Makaranga are X, Munyika are X, and the small little Nambia boy or Tsonga boy who only has 60 or 50,000 people in his clan, will he ever make it? The answer is he may make it on the basis of merit, but on popularity and tribal wars, that wall will remain as steep as it can remain. Read South African politics. Let me not get there. We flip over and say, how about we place power, we decentralize power to 16 houses. Then each one of these houses, including an extra house for the foreigners who are now living amongst us, the Chinese, the Indians, the whites, and the Arabs, so that each clan for the next 20 years, if you want to make it 1 year each, or 80 years, or 160 years, each clan can rethink their value that maybe the next president, the next king, or the next leader, I don't know what you're going to call them, is coming from our clan. And they can look on the calendar and say, we are going in year so and so. Look at the amount of education that goes at the back there. As parents are beginning to move towards the expectation that the royalty and leadership is actually in their own houses. It was my own way that possibly if we can draw back this cultural platform, we can be able to allow power to rotate from house to house rather than waiting for the military to develop for us a leader whom they think from there. And power remains in the hands of the military by being managed by the ballot for the civilians. But you and me know very well there is very little that happens in the leadership of the politics if the military is not involved. So let's not waste your time. But in a nutshell, when I look at the situation, I was just thinking if we should come up with a parallel, well-thought structure that respects our past, is relevant to the present. Of course, it incorporates our dynamics. That we're there. But since we are now here, can we come up with a better program that can